Flanking me on both sides are tubular batteries. It's also called flooded lead acid batteries. You can also call it the wet cell batteries. It's got to be the most controversial batteries. Some people say it lasts very long, and some people say, no, it doesn't. Let's find out the reasons why these batteries don't last so very long. And let us also find out if you that are watching right now is the reason, yes, I mean you, or the reason, might be the reason why these batteries die before its time. My name is Ikenna from Smiling Sun. Everything solar installation, everything inverter installation, everything going green. So I'm about to tell you the 10 reasons why this battery's lifespan are shortened. 10 good reasons why these batteries die before its time. Stay very close. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's go straight into it. Number 1. These batteries are not meant to be kept in places where there is no ventilation. So any place you're keeping these batteries, you need to ensure that the windows are open. There's a lot of ventilation moving around, so it has a lot of aeration. All right, so that the temperature of the battery doesn't get to rise. Because if this battery temperature rises for a prolonged period of time, it cuts down on the lifespan. And don't forget that the lifespan of this battery is about 1,500 to 2,000 cycles. So if you had to discharge and charge this battery every single day, you might be getting out 5 to 6 years out of this battery if you care for them properly. That's why you need to listen attentively. Don't keep these batteries in enclosed places. You're killing the battery. The temperature of the battery needs to be normal, not rise, not fall below that temperature, maintaining that temperature. And if that happens, you're able to keep this temperature at the recommended temperature, then this battery definitely is going to last for a very long time. Do you hear that? So the next time you put these batteries in enclosed places and you shut your door, remember one thing, you're killing this battery before its time. This is got to be the most controversial part of it. How much of depth of discharge can you go on this battery without hurting the battery? How much of energy can you extract from this battery and you limit the lifespan? The manufacturers of this product says you should never go beyond 50% depth of discharge on this battery. No matter what you do, never extract more than 50% from this battery. And now there's something the both of us can agree on. The manufacturer should know better. I mean, they produce this battery, so they know the limits the battery should go. So if they're saying you should never go beyond 50%, you need to listen. Because I hear lots of people arguing, no, I can extract 60% out of it. I can extract 70% out of it. I can extract 80% energy. I can go as much as 80% depth of discharge. My friend, let me help you even further. You can go as much as 100% depth of discharge on this battery. But what are the consequences? If you're going beyond 50% depth of discharge, which is the recommended depth of discharge you should never exceed on these batteries, you are only hurting the cells of the battery. And when you hurt the cells of the battery, what is going to happen? The lifespan of the battery is going to reduce. That promised lifespan from the manufacturers is going to be cut short. Okay, so there's a difference between recommendation and possibilities. Recommendation means the manufacturers of this product says don't go beyond 50% energy extraction. The depth of discharge that is recommended you should go is 50%. But possibility means you choose to ignore them and push it beyond its threshold, beyond its limit. All right? And you decide to go as much as 70%, 80%, 90%. And some crazy guys even go as much as 100%. Now, when you do this, fellows, have it at the back of your mind that you're going to be replacing these batteries very soon, because that amount of time, which is 1,500 to 2,000 cycles, is definitely not guaranteed. You voided it. So let me explain in clear terms so that you understand what I mean, my friend. Let's look at Toyota Corolla, which is a reasonably very small car. The manufacturers of this car will tell you this is the amount of load this car can carry. Never exceed this amount of load. And when you're towing this car, because pretty much most cars have towing capacities, and the manufacturers of the car will tell you this is the towing capacity of this car. So if you decide you want to use the Toyota Corolla to go beyond the recommended towing capacity or the load subjection, you are essentially killing the battery. So if they say, for instance, 100 kg is the much load you can subject to a Toyota Corolla, it doesn't mean that the Toyota Corolla can't take anything higher. You can decide to do as much as 150 kg, but what are you doing? You are abusing that car and killing that car in the long run. After a while, you will notice that the engine of the car is smoking. That means the car is on its way out. You are subjecting the car to much load that it's not meant to carry. That's an abuse. That means the car is going to die pretty soon. That's exactly the same thing that happens to your battery. When the manufacturer says, don't go beyond 50%, but you say, no, I can do 70% out of it. I can do 80% depth of discharge on it and safely keep the battery and it's cool. And for the first 1 month, 2 months, it seems like you're getting away with it. And then one day, boom, the batteries fail. The third one is going to be undersizing your batteries. Undersizing means the battery is too small for the load that you're subjecting to the batteries. So let's take, for instance, the recommended kilowatt that is meant for the load of the particular property or house that you're meant to install this battery is around 10 kilowatt. But what you installed is around 7 kilowatt. What that means in essence is that you will definitely be over discharging the batteries. And over discharging the batteries is not good, because when you continue to over discharge the batteries, you affect the lifespan of the batteries. Always ensure that you do a proper sizing for your batteries. In that way, you get to extract that 50% which is recommended and never go beyond it. But when your batteries are undersized, you get to discharge this battery 3 times in a day. And when you do that, you are reducing the lifespan of the battery. Very soon you'll begin to notice that the batteries are no longer holding power like it used to. And that's a clear sign, one of the clear signs that the batteries are on the way out. Let's go to number 4. The use of electrolytes to hydrate your battery is very dangerous. This battery contains electrolyte, which is a mixture of sulfuric acid and distilled water brought to a certain concentrate called specific gravity. Now, when the batteries are charging, it emits hydrogen. The distilled water, which is mixed with the sulfuric acid, will escape. All you need to do, my friend, is just to get another distilled water and refill this battery. So when the electrolyte goes down to a certain level, you'd always see the indicators on your float gauge. So when it hits red, you're meant to refill the batteries. So when you're meant to refill the batteries, what exactly do you use, my friend? Do you use electrolyte or do you use distilled water? If your answer is electrolyte, that's wrong. You know what that means? If you use electrolytes to hydrate this battery, what you're essentially doing is that you're increasing the specific gravity of these batteries. And when you increase the specific gravity of these batteries, you're essentially increasing the acidic level of the battery, which kills the cells of the battery. It doesn't spare it. I mean, the cells of the battery dread very high concentration acidic levels on the battery. And now when you use electrolyte, you're introducing more acid into the battery, and that is going to kill the battery. Always ensure that you use distilled water, not plain water. Distilled water, not potable water. All right, not any other water, but distilled water. Distilled water essentially means water that is free from any chemical compounds. All right, it doesn't have chlorine, it doesn't have salt, it doesn't have any chemical component, because if it does have a chemical component and you pour it into this battery, it is going to start to corrode the plates of the batteries, and then the batteries will slowly begin to find its way out of good health. Okay, so this should never happen. Always ensure that you hydrate this battery when you're meant to hydrate it, and make sure that you pour the distilled water, not electrolyte. Another reason why your tubular batteries might not last very long is the fact that you install your tubular batteries without a temperature sensor. Why would anybody even do that? You need a temperature sensor in your tubular battery connections. Now, if you're thinking for 1 second that those temperature sensors that always comes with your inverters, always comes with your charge controllers, that is some form of decorations. If the manufacturers of these tubular batteries thought for 1 second that that temperature sensor is not necessary, they wouldn't be wasting so much money producing that temperature sensor alongside the millions of charge controllers and the inverters that they produce. The temperature sensor does have a function. The function of the temperature sensor is to always check the temperature of the battery. When it senses that the temperature of the battery is beginning to rise above dangerous thresholds, it is going to notify the inverter. Then the inverter is going to reduce the amount of current and voltage it's pumping into the battery at the time. It's meant to regulate its charging. If the temperature of the battery is getting too high, the temperature sensor is going to sense this and send a signal to your inverter and of course to your charge controller to limit the amount of energy it is pumping into the battery at that particular point in time. If the temperature is also very low, same thing applies in the reverse. The system will begin to pump in more energy into the system. And this function can only happen if the temperature sensor is connected to the battery in the first place. But if there's no temperature sensor in the battery, the inverter and the charge controller will be charging the battery randomly. If the temperature is low, the inverter has no idea. If the temperature is high, the inverter has no idea. It just keeps charging the batteries. And in that way, it is going to damage these batteries and affect the lifespan that this battery is meant to deliver. So always remember that temperature sensor is very, very important. So the next time you install your tubular batteries, ensure that you have the temperature sensor connected. And if you already installed your batteries and you don't have a temperature sensor, go right now, my friend, and put in a temperature sensor and regulate the temperature of your batteries. Prolonged inactivity on the batteries. That means leaving the batteries unattended for a very long time. So let's say you have the tubular battery as your source of deep cycle battery connection to your solar system and you're not around for a very long time. Let's say you've been away for like 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. What will be happening to this battery? This battery is never like being neglected, and especially being neglected for a very long time. These batteries like to be charged all the time. So if you neglect this battery for a very long time and you don't charge this battery for a prolonged period, the battery is going to start to sulfate or stratify. Sulfation means that the sulfuric acid will begin to crystallize on the plate base of the battery. And when that happens, the battery is going to experience failure. All of a sudden, the battery is going to fail. All right, so you're meant to be charging this battery at all time. Never leave it alone. So if you're not going to be around for a very long time, no worries. Just keep your solar system on. You don't have to shut it down. That's the job of the charge controller, to ensure that the battery is properly charged and cared for at all times. So if the battery is fully charged, it is going to stop charging. Lots of people ask me this question: I'm not around, should I leave my solar system on? Absolutely, you can. As long as that solar system was properly installed, it should run like clockwork. Okay, so never leave these batteries unattended. Never neglect them. It could cause damage to the systems. So one of the major reasons why the tubular batteries die on time and never attain its full lifespan is when you fail to refill the water, the distilled water on the battery, when the electrolyte level goes down. Don't forget that when this battery is charging, it emits hydrogen, and in that process, this battery loses a whole lot of water that you're meant to hydrate with distilled water. But when you don't do that on time and the water goes below this plate, it is going to hurt the cells of the battery. And in most cases, the batteries never recover from that occurrence. So if the electrolyte level goes below the plates, it is going to damage the plates and the cells of the battery. Always ensure that you're watching this on time. You are always very attentive, because it has markings. It has the green markings and it has the red markings. The green markings on the float gauge means that the battery's electrolyte level is filled up at the appropriate normal place. The red markings means it's time for you to fill up the battery. Anytime from now, the battery is going to encounter a huge damage to its cells and plates. You need to refill it, and refill it fast. And what do you need in refilling it? Distilled water. So once you refill it on time, you're good to go. And if you practice these measures all the time and ensure that the electrolyte level never goes below that threshold, below that line on that plate, this battery will sure last for a very long time. One of the reasons why the batteries also don't last very long is because you don't connect any form of battery management system to these batteries. Why do you do that? There should be a battery management system right on these batteries that ensure that the batteries all charge and discharge at the same current. All right? So if there's no battery management system, or what you call an equalizer connected to these batteries, and most especially when you have these batteries in huge banks, and you have different banks, and there's no form of battery equalizer connected to these batteries, even when they are connected to multiple banks and parallels, that's very crazy. Because if the equalizer is not connected to this battery, some are going to be undercharging and some will be overcharging. And overcharging kills your battery, as well as undercharging also kills your battery. Poor maintenance on these batteries too can also contribute to the shortened lifespan of the tubular batteries. All right, so when you have a tubular batteries, you should have it at the back of your mind that it is not a maintenance-free battery. So what that means is that the battery is meant to be maintained. All right, so after a while, not all the time, you might notice that you have corrosions on the battery terminals. These are the battery terminals, and this is the positive battery terminal. This is the negative battery terminal. After a while, you might experience or notice some corrosions clouding these terminals. You're meant to shut the systems down on both the terminals and begin to clean the terminals off all those corrosions. Once you're done, you put a petroleum jelly on it so that the free flow of current can continue to happen. But when you have this corrosion staying on the battery terminal for a prolonged period, it will affect the free flow of current on the system, which in turn is going to affect the lifespan of the batteries. Always ensure that that's part of the maintenance that you're meant to do, apart from the fact that you might need to fill up the battery when the electrolyte level goes down. You need to clean up the battery terminals to ensure that any form of resistance from the battery is taken off. Because if those corrosions are left to stay right there, you will experience resistance on the batteries, and that's not so cool. It will affect this guy in a very long time. One of the things that consistently shortens the lifespan of your battery is lack of equalization on your batteries. And when I say equalization, some people are saying, didn't we hear him say something about equalization or equalizer, or is it just in my head? It's not in your head. I did mention about equalizer, but that's a battery management system. It's simply a hardware that you connect to your batteries that ensures that your batteries get to charge and discharge at the same rate. But that's completely different from equalization. Equalization is simply a set function on your charge controller or your inverter systems that ensures that your batteries are equalized periodically. And why is equalization very important? Because it's really very important that you get to equalize your batteries every now and then. Like I did mention earlier, the content of this battery is a liquid that is called electrolyte. And electrolyte is a mixture of sulfuric acid and distilled water. And after a while, the distilled water will begin to diverse from the sulfuric acid. And then the sulfuric acid will begin to sediment, find its way down to the base plates. And if this continues for a prolonged period of time, you're going to witness failure in the battery. The batteries are going to sulfate or crystallize. And what exactly is equalization? Equalization is simply charging the battery with excessive high voltage that the batteries will normally not charge on, within the range of 62 to 64 volts, to ensure that that mixture that you have in the battery, which is the distilled water and the sulfuric acid, bubbles up so much that they all mix correctly. And that way you bubble the batteries back to life. So if you perform these functions every now and then, especially when the batteries are not properly charged or fully charged every day, you need to perform equalization functions on these batteries to be able to bubble them back to life. And the major aim of performing this equalization process is to balance the cells of your batteries, to ensure that the cells of the batteries are operating within the same range. Make sure that you're buying the original tubular batteries. Don't buy the fake ones or the aftermarket ones and expect them to perform like the originals. There's a lot of fake in the market. The market is proliferated with a lot of fake tubular batteries that do not give you what is the advertised rate. So if they tell you 220 amps, you can be sure it's a lot less. So make sure you're buying the real thing. Do your due diligence and ensure that you get real quality tubular batteries. That's about the only way that you're guaranteed that you're going to get 6 years out of these batteries. If you're buying anything less, there is nothing I can do for you guys. That's about it, everybody. Thank you so very much for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed, come on now. This is how you support this work that we're doing, and we're so very grateful. Don't forget to comment, don't forget to share, and do not forget to like. See you guys in the next video.